Hey everybody, in this video we are looking at example 48 in our pre-calc final exam review set. In this example we are given f of x, g of x, and h of x, and we are asked to determine the following. H inverse of x. That's how you read that, and if you don't know that, dial math 911 SOS. This means that we're going to find the inverse of the function h of x, which I am going to assume is 1-to-1. That would mean, and it looks 1-to-1 to me because for one thing, the denominator, I see a vertical asymptote situation when x is 2, and that's to the first power. That tells me that one branch against the asymptote is pointing up and that the other branch is pointing down. And I also see I have a horizontal asymptote or end behavior at -3, something like this. So that's kind of implying to me that it passes the vertical line test and the horizontal line test. And this one's not as annoying as the whole situation with the f situation because the inverse will be a function since it's 1-to-1. That's just my little rant on this over here. If this was a little bit more like the volcano, or if this was the case where, you know, the ones where you have like a slant asymptote, it's still, I guess, no, it wouldn't really be a volcano, but the ones where, like, say you have a slant asymptote, right? And then you have a vertical asymptote, and you have something that looks like that branch there and this branch here. This one is not 1-to-1. It passes the vertical line test, but it definitely fails the horizontal line test. So the inverse would not be a function, since the inverse is like a twist-a-rooney sideways, right? It would fail the vertical line test, and you wouldn't be able to call it h inverse of x. You wouldn't be able to use that notation. It is reserved for functions. If it were in this little section here instead, and this little section over here instead, that is going to be 1-to-1, and the inverse would be a function. So these are the things I stress out about in my free time. Okay, anyhow, that's the end of my sidebar. So h of x means y. I'm going to save a little time. I'm going to call the y x, and I'm going to call the x y. Now, this case of solving for y is the messiest of all of them. Not of every possible, but of all of the ones in our study guide. This is very similar to the natural log example, solving a natural log equation, where it looked like, I'll show you right over here, let me grab a different color. If you remember when we had something like 4 raised to the 2x minus 3 equals 5 raised to the 7x plus 6, something like that. If you remember, we took the natural log of both sides. The power came out front using power property. We distributed ln4, ln5 into the parentheses. So we had something with x in it minus something with no x equals something with x in it plus something without an x in it. We brought everything with an x to one side, everything without an x to another, and then we factor out the x, right? And then we divide by that, okay? That situation, if you know what I'm talking about, go to, or if you don't, if you do, great. If you don't, you can go to the logarithmic, solving exponential and logarithmic equations. That's section 4 of the log and exponential unit. It is in the description box below if you scroll down. And one of those examples, like towards the end of that section, a couple examples there are of that type. I believe it's there. I believe it's that section, section 4. If you scroll down to that, that is what is sort of going to happen here as we are going to solve for the y. So, ooh, still messy. I'm trying to be neat on this one because it can get a little out of hand. In fact, I mean, yeah, I guess that's fine. All right, I already switched x and y, okay? So x and y are already switched, good. Now we got to get y equals alone, right? Just equal to something. That's what we're doing now, okay? So I'm going to multiply. Let's kind of go in Roy G. Biv-ish order. I'm going to start with pink, then red, then orange, okay? So I'm going to multiply both sides. There's implied parentheses everywhere. I'm going to multiply both sides by y minus 2. Y minus 2. Now the x is going to distribute, and this is going to cross out. There were cases with trig that we weren't allowed to divide by x or whatever, but that's where you divide both sides and it completely disappears. Here, I'm getting rid of it on the right, but it is appearing on the left, okay? So it's a little different if you're thinking about that. Next line, I'm going to distribute the x in here. So that's x, y minus 2x equals, then again, that is gone, and I have 7 minus 3y. That's the second line. I'm just going to the left to give myself a little bit more room. Here, I want to get everything with y on one side and everything without a y to the other side. So I'm going to add 3y to both sides. And I'm going to add, in this case, because, you know, inverse operation, add 2x on both sides. So what is happening? Here, that's gone, and that's gone. If that's gone, what's left is going to be, this is left, this, plus this. So what will that look like for my next line? X, Y, and the order you write it in might vary from person to person. I will show you how, because when it's multiple choice, it's a little hard to pick out your answer at times. So I'm going to leave the 7, oh no, because that negative was just with that. So it doesn't matter, 7 plus 2x for now, just because that's how I have it written. All right, that's where I am. Again, I'm solving for y. So what do I want to do next? It's my GCF. I'm going to factor out y. What property are we using? There's no factor property. We're actually using the distributive property when we factor out a GCF. The property being used is distributive property. It's just being used in reverse. Inside my parenthesis is x plus 3. And again, I have 7 plus 2x on that side. Okay, scrolly, scrolly. From here, to get y alone, I'm going to divide both sides by the quantity of x plus 3. Here, we are gone. So, final answer is, okay, y equals 7 plus 2x over x plus 3, right there. Dunzeroni. Hopefully I didn't make any careless sign errors anywhere. I don't think I did. So that would be right. Or again, you could reverse things. 2x plus 7 on top. Keep it x plus 3 on bottom. Maybe I write the bottom as 3 plus x, so on and so forth. How does this start to look different when you have negatives involved? That's a side discussion, okay? Right, so this is the same as this, right? So, and that would be H inverse, okay? I just called it Y there. Maybe you want me to change it. So I can change it. Okay, now if there was subtraction, I'm just gonna make up something like 2x minus 7, it'll be similar to this, over 3 minus x, right? That's fine, that's a totally correct way to write that. What else could I do? I could basically, and I'll show you why, if I reverse the bottom, negative x plus 3, right? Leave the top the same. Factor the negative out of the bottom. That means I have x minus 3, right? And then I take this negative, and I could sit it out front, 2x minus 7. So if it's multiple choice typed up, what will that look like? Sometimes what that looks like is negative fraction bar 2x minus 7 over x minus 3. It might look like that. Or this negative could be redistributed to the top. In that case, you would have maybe negative 2x plus 7. It would not distribute to top and bottom because that's silly. That's not distributing a negative, that's actually a positive. That, but maybe you don't want a negative leading term, so then you make it 7 minus 2x over x minus 3. So all of these are equivalent statements. Oh no, you can't see that, but I will squeeze it. So what did I say? 7 minus 2x over x minus 3. Most of you probably did not stay tuned all the way to the end, but all of these are equivalent, okay, in the case with the negative. So the reason I mention this is because when it's multiple choice, the answer you get, the way you wrote it, might not be there. And you might end up picking one like, oh, that looks kind of close to mine, but it might be wrong, okay? It might be wrong, so be careful what you pick. Make sure it is actually equivalent to your answer, as long as your answer is right. If your answer is not right, then, you know, don't pick the one that's equivalent to yours. Figure out and accidentally pick the wrong other answer. But that's it for now. I hope that that was helpful. I know I kind of blabbed about it, but those natural log exponential equation type videos would be helpful as well. I feel like this is the classic example you need to know how to do. There's inverse derivative stuff in calculus, so also, you know, you want to know what you're doing, right? That's it for now. Thumbs up if you love it. Thumbs down if you hate it. And I'm sorry this video was long. Over 10 minutes. Apologies, but most of you probably didn't make it this far. That's it for now. Adios.